our hair is so finely tuned that there's one capillary, one blood vessel that in fact is a diameter of a human hair that feeds one hair follicle. And if you actually disrupt that health defense system, that blood vessel system, your circulation, guess what? You knock out that blood vessel, you knock out the root system, the feeder system for your hair follicle, and your hair is going to fall out. One of the things that I encountered when I was in medical school, training to be a doctor, I realized that doctors aren't really taught about health. They're taught only about disease. And so as my professors were teaching me and I was memorizing about the different infections and the different autoimmune diseases and the different types of cancer and the complications of diabetes, I always had a question, which to back to them, which is, okay, so I understand about disease. Tell me about health, finally, please. And they would actually look at me like I was crazy. Like, why would you ask such a silly question? Being healthy is just when you're not sick. And I always felt that that wasn't a satisfactory answer. It couldn't be right. The absence of something doesn't explain the presence of something, right? The lack of money doesn't explain poverty, for example. And so I really kept nursing this question on my mind. And as a scientist, I began to really ask that question. What is health beyond simply the absence of disease? Well, it turns out, and this is 30 years of research, that our health is a result of our body's own health defense systems. These are systems that are hardwired in our body. They formed in our bodies when we were still in our mom's womb. So before we were born, these systems were germinating and forming. And there's 5 of them that I've done the deepest dive and research, and I'm working on new ones as well. But basically, these 5 health defense systems are swashbuckling to defend our health against the enemies that could cause disease from the time we're born until our very last breath. When our health defenses are healthy, we can be healthy. And when our health defenses are compromised or down, that's actually when we become vulnerable and sick. So, like people, let's look at it. I'm going to talk about hair loss in a second, but let's talk about a disease that everyone really sits up when they hear about it, which is cancer.
Right.
Cancer's touched almost everyone that I know. And whether it's directly or indirectly, a friend, a colleague, a family member, but, people who are diagnosed with cancer, like my patients, they'll say, Dr. Lee, why did I get cancer? Right. So, on a patient level, I would say, I would think through what their risk factors are and everything else. But in my head, what I actually started to think about is, why don't we get cancer more often? How come we don't all get cancer all the time? Right. You think, and that actually is a really important question, because you're breathing secondhand smoke, but you don't develop lung cancer. You're out in the sunshine, maybe even just stuck in traffic, and you don't get melanoma, right? And so this is actually getting at the answer to the question, what are our body's health defenses? What are those defenses that protect us against cancer and heart disease and diabetes and metabolic syndrome and against hair loss? And the answer is, we've got 5 of these systems that are hardwired inside our body, work to actually keep every part of our body, including our hair, healthy.
Awesome. So can you break those down for us a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about hair. Okay. So, first of all, our body's covered with hair. We tend to think of the hair in our head, maybe a few other places in our body, as where the hair actually is. But in fact, we're covered with a fine layer of hair everywhere. And the primary function of hair, of course, is actually to help us cool off or preserve heat. It's a kind of little shield that forms these little air pockets, or they can actually help us cool off as well. And our hair is really, on our head, is a set of cells, a hair follicle, that then sprouts like a seedling that you plant in your pot, in your window of your window pot, okay? And it sprouts right out, and it turns into this beautiful hair, whatever color your hair may be, or whatever shape your hair may actually wind up in. Some people have really super straight hair. Some people have waves, some people have curls. It's all the same. It all starts with this seedling, which is
Mhm.
our hair follicle that is buried underneath the skin, kind of like a seed. Now, if you think about it, if you ever had a window pot with anything planted in it, you realize if you pull out the plant, you're going to pull out the roots. And the seed of our hair follicle also has roots, but the roots actually are blood vessels that actually grow up and feed the hair follicle. So one of our body's health defense systems is called angiogenesis. That's one of the five. Angio mean blood, blood vessel, genesis, how they grow.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that we need to defend the health of our hair is good circulation. Now, you don't think about your hair having a circulation, but it does. In fact, our hair is so finely tuned that there's one capillary, one blood vessel that, in fact, is a diameter of a human hair. That's how tiny the blood vessels are that feeds one hair follicle. All
I
right.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you actually disrupt that health defense system, that blood vessel system, your circulation, guess what? You knock out that blood vessel, you knock out the root system, the feeder system for your hair follicle, and your hair is going to fall out. All
Mhm.
right. So that's one of the things to think about. And by the way, some of the prescription medicines that have been developed to treat some forms of alopecia or hair loss, baldness, is actually intended to restore blood flow
Mhm.
into the hair follicle, right?
Mhm.
But the great news, and this is really the topic of my books, Eat to Beat Disease, Eat to Beat Your Diet. And, I started a YouTube channel
Yeah.
full of information about this kind of a thing, is what foods can you eat in order to be able to help encourage good blood flow? What foods can we eat to support that circulatory blood
Mhm.
flow component of our body, including our hair? And it turns out there's a lot of foods
Okay.
that actually do this. For example, you might be surprised by this, but mushrooms. Not everyone's a fan of a mushroom. I love mushrooms. It turns out mushrooms have a soluble fiber called beta D glucan. These are known as bioactives. These fruits and vegetables are packed with natural chemicals, and beta glucan is one of the bioactives. It's called bioactive, biologically active. It's just basically slang for a natural chemical that
Okay.
activates our body, right?
Okay.
So when people talk about superfoods, by the way, Lynn,
Mhm.
I always tell people, there's no such thing as one single superfood. That's
Okay.
marketing. What there is a super body. Our body's what's really super.
Mm.
We can do things that we can't even imagine. And
Mhm.
so when we eat foods like mushrooms, for example, with beta D glucan, and by the way, not just mushrooms, barley also has beta D glucan, and oats, like oatmeal, also has beta D glucan. What those do when we actually eat those, that bioactive, the beta glucan, gets
Mhm.
absorbed in the bloodstream, and guess what? Our body circulates that bioactive, and if the blood flow is going to your scalp,
Mhm.
guess what? It's going to help to grow hair. It's going to help support the viability, help support the life. That it's bringing oxygen and nutrients to that hair
Mhm.
follicle to keep it well. It's kind of like watering a plant, but from underneath.
Right. 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 So what other foods that support angiogenesis?
Oh, let's see. So there's another one that is called ursolic acid.
Okay.
Ursolic acid. I always tell people, don't worry about memorizing these terms. You should just know that researchers like me, I study food as medicine.
Mm.
Like somebody's got to know it. That'd be me. All you need to know is what actually contains it. And in this case, for ursolic acid, it is the peel of fruit. Apples, pears, peaches, all those fruit peels actually contain ursolic acid. Now, what does ursolic acid do? Ursolic acid actually helps to grow blood vessels, new blood vessels where you need them. So it
Mhm.
encourages more circulation, including in the scalp. And
Mhm.
the other thing that it does is it actually recruits stem cells. And by the way, when you want to regrow hair,
Mhm.
our stem cells actually grow more hair. Pull out a hair, okay? You're going to pull out unless you break the hair, you're probably going to pull, there's a good chance you're going to pull out the root as well. Guess what? The hair area will start to grow back. The reason it can grow back is that there are stem cells in our scalp, and those stem cells will grow new hair, right? You think about it, like our hair regenerates. We're not a
Mhm.
starfish. We're not a salamander. Can't grow
Mhm.
the tail. All right. Most of us can't.
Mhm.
However, we can actually grow back hair and skin. So that's a regeneration, another
Interesting.
defense system.
So, question: I remember seeing I remember seeing you say this a while back. So, for the ursolic acid, does that include citrus?
It's not so much found in citrus. Citrus
Okay.
has other bioactives in it as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Okay. So, tell us about those.
Well, citrus actually, the citrus peel, for example, is not something that most people eat,
Mhm.
but it can be used for cooking.
Mhm.
And one of the things that's great, the citrus flavor is amazing. Hey, just a quick note here. If you're looking to eat to beat disease on a budget, check out my free list of 5 affordable foods that you need to add to your next grocery shopping list. What's exciting is that we now live in a time of enormous and fast scientific progress, and food as medicine research is showing us that good health is within the reach of everyone. With the rising cost of healthcare, the very best way to save money and gain quality of life is to make those healthy food choices every time you're at the store. Get my recommendations for the 5 budget-friendly foods to fight disease right now in the caption below. Now, back to the video. Have you ever gone to like especially an Asian restaurant, like a Chinese restaurant? They will use tangerine peels to
Mhm.
flavor different dishes, and it is so fragrant, so delicious. It's kind of like having the zest of a lemon or a
Yes.
zest of an
Yes.
orange. Really pleasing. I actually really, really love that.
Mhm.
Those actually have powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Citrus peel. Now, I'll tell you why it does. One of the main things that's found in peel, that's
Mhm.
especially citrus peel, is dietary fiber.
Mhm.
Dietary fiber, when we eat it, generally doesn't get absorbed into our bodies. You know what it does? It tumbles down our gut. So it goes from the mouth down to the stomach, down into our intestines, small intestines and large intestines. When it gets to our large intestines, that's where our gut microbiome predominantly lives. Now,
Mhm.
many of you guys will have heard about the gut microbiome. It's a healthy bacteria. There's about 39 trillion of them. They live inside our gut. And these are sort of like our secondary cells. Like it's a neighborhood. Like we're all landlords. Are the cribs that we own are actually in our gut, and we invite our gut bacteria to stay there. And as long as they get along, and they're very diverse, and so one of the things is our gut bacteria really needs to live in a diverse neighborhood. Now, you know how important diverse neighborhoods are in real life.
Mhm.
Diverse neighborhoods in our gut are really, really important because all these bacteria, 39 trillion bacteria, they all have different functions. One of them being lowering inflammation. Now, inflammation is one of the important, like wound healing. It's a repair mechanism. It's supposed to be around for a very, very short period of time, but when you have inflammation that doesn't go away, like autoimmune diseases, where
Mhm.
your own immune system attacks your body, it sets off chronic inflammation. And that's one of the causes of some forms of hair loss, like
Mhm.
alopecia areata, okay, where your own immune system, guess what, attacks those hair follicles. It attacks
Mhm.
the little seeds on your window pot. And guess what? It kills off the hair cells. Like that's a big shame, right?
Mhm.
Lots of inflammation with autoimmune disease. So when you eat foods, whether it's orange peel, whether it's an actual orange, which is filled with vitamin C, ascorbic acid, it's a super powerful anti-inflammatory bioactive
Mhm.
by itself. But the dietary fiber will feed your gut. Your gut actually will lower the inflammation in your body and protect that hair follicle, for example. But it also protects all of your other organs as well.
Mhm.
Protects the 60,000 miles worth of blood vessels in your body, protects your heart, your liver, your kidney, your spleen, your brain.
Mhm.
We're beginning to realize that a lot of chronic illnesses, whether you're talking about like people who have chronic brain fog,
Mhm.
Lyme disease, or even long COVID, these kinds of things, we're beginning to realize that, you know what? is partly due to chronic inflammation in the brain.
Mm,
The idea of, I mean, by the way, your scalp on your head, it's connected to your brain,
right.
right? By the circulation, it's all the same immune system. Inflammation of your scalp means you're going to have some brain inflammation, most likely as well, and whole body inflammation. And this is why eating foods that actually help to support our body's natural immune system that can raise or lower inflammation like a radio dial in your car.
Mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
up and pushes down. But in the old days, we had the little knob.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I was in. I was there.
You remember the knob?
I remember those.
To the right in order to get more sound, twist to the left, right?
Yes.
So we're always telling kids to turn it down a little bit. So
Yes.
the point being that our own immune system can turn down inflammation. So anything we can do to help our immune system behave and to help our inflammation behave, anything we do for a gut microbiome, which commands our immune system and releases its own anti-inflammatory, anything we can eat that has its own anti-inflammatory properties, whether it's citrus peel or whether it's the fruit, like the citrus fruit with vitamin C, all of that works together to turn down the volume of inflammation in our body, which is really important for health.
Right, right. So how long, for example, so say if someone decides I'm going to ramp up in these foods and in these areas, in general, I know you can't give it really specific, but in general, how long does it take our bodies to begin that repair process? Like, is it a 2 months, 10 days? What time frame?
Yeah, well, look, the anti-inflammatory effect of foods actually is, I would say, within hours, quickly, like 20 minutes or so, that you can start having some of these effects. The thing is that the anti-inflammatory bioactives, your body will metabolize it, so you're getting a little benefit. It's got to wait to the next meal or the next time you're having something to keep it tamped down. And that's why having a consistent diet that's healthy is so important. You know, you eat a citrus once, or you take one vitamin C vitamin, right, which contains anti-inflammatory ascorbic acid. Guess what? It actually dims down the inflammation for a little while. Honestly, it starts to work, I would say, definitely within a half an hour. It'll last. We call it the half-life, like how long it will last in our body. But then actually the inflammation will come back up. All right. So think about it. If you have menstrual cramps and you're taking a non-steroidal like Motrin or Advil, yeah, it works for a little while. But if you don't, it'll wear off, right? Then you got to do it again. And so it's the same deal with these healthy foods. But the difference between food and drugs is that food is safe. Food is, we need to eat anyway. And most of us eat like 3 times a day. Actually, most of us encounter food about 5 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a couple of snacks or a dessert. And so every time we encounter food, it's an opportunity, a shot on goal to do something good for our body.
That's good. That's good. And so can we talk a little bit about DNA? Because many of us, I read a medical article a few months ago, and some scientists have identified a gene in women that specifically with scarring alopecias, right? And so there's an upregulation and a downregulation. Can you talk to us a little bit about, just in general, the concept of DNA and DNA protection and upregulating, or how do we make sure we're not turning things on that don't need to be turned on, and how do we turn things off?
It's a great question. So, we talked about your DNA is one of your body's defense systems. It protects itself. Now, we talked about other health defenses already. We talked about our circulation, growing blood vessels. We talked about stem cells to renew ourselves. We talked about the gut, but for both lowering inflammation as a very important role for it. DNA is a fourth health defense system. There's 5 of them. But the fourth health defense systems are DNA. And our DNA basically are the instructions in our body. We inherit the genetic material from our mom and some from our dad. That doesn't change. What we're exposed to, the environment, can actually damage the DNA. So think about it. You're breathing fumes like paint fumes. You know how strong those turpentine fumes are? Man, that solvent is getting in your body through your lungs, damaging your DNA, right, in your body. Fortunately, your DNA is a defense system. It can fix the damage that
Mhm.
those chemicals are causing. You eat some, you drink some, you drink some fluorescent colored soda with a lot of artificial sweeteners and preservatives, and guess what happens? That damages your DNA too. All right. And thank goodness we actually have a system that can fix itself, so our DNA can repair itself. But by the way, it's not just doing those obviously harmful things. There are some things that are like smoking as well, but there's some things that we don't even think about. For
Mhm.
example, Lynn, when you go fill up your car with gas, if you still drive a gas car,
Mhm.
when you're at the pump at the filling station, do you stand upwind or downwind?
I don't pay attention.
Exactly. I will tell you, if you smell the fumes from the gas, you're standing downwind because it's
Okay.
coming out of the pump, and into your car, and you're breathing it. Those fumes actually damage your DNA. But fortunately, your body has been able to fix it. All right. So
Mhm.
so fixing damaged DNA is one of the ways that our DNA protection system actually protects us against damage. The other thing, by the way, is that as we are aging, there are these protective caps at the end of our DNA called telomeres. That's
Mhm.
Telomeres. These telomeres are like the little plastic caps at the end of a shoelace,
Mhm.
right? And they like those caps protect the shoelace from fraying. And the telomeres, which are the caps in our DNA, our genetic code, are
Mhm.
there to protect our DNA from fraying as well. Now, if the plastic cap comes off your shoelace and your shoelace becomes untied or it comes out of the loop, man, is it a pain in the butt to try to get it back in, right?
Right. Right.
It's so frustrating. Well,
Right.
think about that. If that happens to your DNA, you lose that protective cap, and it starts fraying. It's like, that piece of DNA, it's all over for it. So
Mm.
it's really important and as we age, our telomeres, those protective caps, shorten, but we can damage those telomeres as well. Certain things can make the telomeres shrink faster. We don't want that to happen, like artificial chemicals. And so when you hear about people like me who do research on food as medicine, we're saying, look, try to eat on a healthier way. Try to cut out some of that junk food, that ultra processed stuff. Anything that looks like it's not a natural color.
Mhm.
Probably isn't a natural color, and that
Mhm.
should be a warning sign because all those things can damage your DNA. So
Mhm.
I think what you're referring to are the fact that whenever we're injured, whether it's hair loss or whether it's surgery or
Mhm.
whether we scrape our knee because we fell down the steps, okay, the healing part
Mhm.
afterwards is designed to be perfect, meaning you heal with nothing,
Mhm.
no scar. But inevitably, we have a little bit of scar because that area that got cut open or is damaged, when it actually seals back up, it's not quite as strong as before. So it's like an extra layer of cement. And that's what a scar is. Now, a lot of people have too much scar, and that's a big problem. When you've got lots of scar, for example, in your scalp, your hair is not going to be able to grow back through a scar.
Right.
You need soil, nice soil, to be able to do that. I mean, think about it. Back to that windowsill planter analogy. Like you got all these seeds. You pull out the plant from by the roots or the seed. All right, now what are you going to do? Well, listen, if you have a scar that's formed, instead of putting nice soil back in, you put a piece of clay in there.
Mhm.
Scar. All right. Now
Mhm.
the seeds can't grow through that piece of clay.
Right.
You can't do that. So that's where we want to actually identify the DNA, the piece of the DNA that we don't want to actually create scar. And
Right.
I think that we didn't know what they were for hair, but now we're beginning to actually peel the layers of the onion back to try to figure out which genes might be responsible for suboptimal or not so great healing.
Mhm.
Healing should be perfect, right? Our body is designed to heal perfectly.
Mhm.
It doesn't heal right, and by the way, this is actually a theme. Many people don't heal perfectly. Many people have big scars. I mean, there's certain people that really have. Even if you cut your hand, you have a big puffy scar out that pops out.
Mhm.
That's called a keloid,
Right.
and some people are keloid formers. And for those people, what we want to do is figure out how can we kind of calm things down. So with it at the tissue level through the DNA, so it's like, all right, we're healed. All right, it's stronger. We don't need any more scar, please.
Right, right,
Like everybody stop and leave the room. No more.
right, right. Exactly, exactly. So I question. Um, one of the let me look at her time here. Okay, we're done. So in your new book, Eat to Beat Your Diet, which first let me say it's so approachable. So it's a an approachable, doable. You have a way about you that um, is it's an abundant approach, right? It's not like scarcity or deprivation. Like everything, it's very additive. That's probably the best way.
Yeah.
You have an additive approach, which makes it for many of us, like me, doable. Like, okay, oh, I could do this. I could do this. This step here. So one of the things that I've learned in some of my research and my own experience too is that there's a metabolic component as well for some people, right? So if you're for some of us who are dealing with metabolic issues, and it's all, like you said, it's all tied together. And so in your book, Eat to Beat Your Diet, which I'm not all the way through, but I'm getting there so I can implement, and I'm beginning to implement some of those things. Can you talk to us a little bit? Let's maybe take a little bit of a transition, because it really is still connected when we're talking about metabolic issues and inflammation, the connection there. And then you talk about how our bodies can use fat to fight fat.
Yeah, and not just use fat to fight fat. You can actually eat foods to fight fat, which sounds counterintuitive. Okay, well, I got to tell you sort of like a little bit of story of my books.
Okay.
Eat to Beat Disease is not actually about disease; it's about health.
Mm-hmm.
Eat to Beat Your Diet is not a diet book. It's an anti-diet book that says how you can be metabolically healthier without ever having to go on a diet. You don't have to eliminate. In fact, you add. Right. So there's sort of a silver lining to all of the books that I'm writing, because everybody focuses on the negative, the elimination, the restriction, the deprivation, and human nature doesn't work that way. We all love abundance. Like we want abundance. We crave abundance. Imagine that Christmas morning and under the tree, you see all these presents. That's abundance, right? It makes us happy. And so what I try to do is to unpack the science, the latest science that talks about that. Now, I'll tell you, when I got done with Eat to Beat Disease, my publisher said, how would you like to write the next book? And I said, I have to think about like where you would, how would you take things to the next level? If you got your health kind of worked on, you got your health defenses all worked on, like where do you go next? Well, answer is your metabolism, right? So, okay, I feel pretty good. I'm pretty healthy. All right, now let's work on your metabolism. Not just to fix a broken metabolism, but how do you get a good metabolism and optimize it, right? And so again, I try to put the silver lining, the optimistic aspect, like the empowering thing, like what can you do? Well, look, for metabolism, everybody has these pre-designed notions, preconceived notions. We all believe it. I used to believe it, but research is showing that everything we thought we knew about metabolism is wrong. Okay. Now that's a big statement for you to make. So let me explain it. All right. So here are the things that we all believe about metabolism, right? Metabolism is a roll of the dice. My sister was born with a fast metabolism. Look how thin she is. She can eat anything. I was born with a slower metabolism. I've struggled with food my whole life. That's not me, but I'm just telling you, like, that's what we always see, right? Well, you know what? That's not true. It turns out we're all born with the exact same metabolism. Listen, we're all born with our kidneys work the same way, our eyeballs work the same way, our tongues work the same way, our teeth work the same way. What on earth makes you think that metabolism would be just like a throw of the dice? Nope. We're all born pretty much the same way. Like an operating system of your laptop that you pull out of a box, or your cell phone, your mobile phone. If I bought a phone from my phone store, you bought a phone, Lynn, from your phone store, if it's the same model, we fire it up, that operating system is going to be working our phones exactly the same way. But if I drop my phone, if I spill coffee in my phone, if I drop it in the ocean or in a bathtub or in a toilet, what's going to happen? Like the operating system's not going to work as well. That's what actually happens to our metabolism. It's the course of our lives that kind of start to separate us over a period of time. But here's the crazy thing. We also believe, and during kids when they're going through their teenage years, the kids who are in their teens that are eating 2 dinners, bouncing off the wall with energy, like you got to like catch them with a net to kind of like calm them down.
Mhm.
All right. We used to always think that, those kids are going through a growing spurt. Their metabolism must be going through the roof.
Yep.
Right. Totally not true.
Oh gosh.
During teenage years, a teenager's metabolism is coming down, 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 down to hit adult levels. So there's this gigantic spike in metabolism from between the ages of birth and to 1 year old. It goes sky high like a rocket. Okay, like 50% higher than when you're an adult. Like a 1 year old's metabolism is like white hot.
Mhm.
It goes way up. And then from 1 year old to 20 years old, it goes down, 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 down to cruising altitude, which is adult levels. And this is all research that's just been done like in a few years ago. So this is an all new discovery.
Mhm.
The other thing is that is a real stunner is between the ages of 20 to 60. What do we normally think? Yeah, you get to your 40s and 50s, your shape's going to change. You're going to struggle with your weight. Man, my clothes aren't going to fit anymore. I got to get used to it. What can I do? Right.
Right.
And we all assume middle age means their metabolism changes.
Yep.
Guess what? Not true. Our metabolism is hardwired between the ages of 20 and 60 to be rock solid. Our operating system is designed not to change. Flat as a lake. All right. Between the ages of 20 and 60.
Wow.
That means that 60 can be the new 20 if you follow your inner metabolism. Now, what actually happens? Obviously, people get to their 40s and 50s. They do have struggles.
Right.
What happens? There's a couple of things that happens. First of all, as we get into our 40s and 50s, man, our responsibilities get bigger, more complicated, right? Our time to exercise goes down. Our stress levels go sky high. Okay. Then you add a little bit of hormonal change.
Mhm.
And if it's a women, it's like perimenopausal. If it's men, it's andropause. All right. All these things are all happening inside our bodies. And then we got distracted in worries, right? We're worried about the kids. We're worried about our boss. We're worried about our job. We're worried about the economy. We're worried about the war. We're worried about whatever.
Right.
Okay? All this stress, all these things actually influence our hardwiring of our metabolism. It's like dropping coffee on your keyboard on your laptop. All right.
Mm.
What happens is that our metabolism will naturally wind up getting a little bit slower because it's damaged. The operating system's damaged. It's like downloading a virus on your computer. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I downloaded an app. I did not mean to do that virus. So you got to clean it up.
Mhm.
That's what is that we tend to also, because we're not sleeping as well, we're more stressed out.
Yes.
We tend to make poor decisions when it comes to food and not just what we're eating, but how much we're eating. Guess what? We grow extra body fat. That's a matter of fueling up, right? Like food is our fuel. Like the gas is for our car. We fuel up by eating. We need that fuel, by the way. It's about how much fuel you're actually eating.
Right.
We eat a lot of fuel, we're going to grow more fat. Our fat cells, the cells of our fat, store energy. So the more we eat, the more fuel we're going to have. Hey, that's great if you're the gas station, but hey, we don't need to be the gas station. You don't want to be the gas station. Let me tell you that. You want to be the sports car. You want to be the Ferrari that pulls up to the gas station. Hey there, if you're ready to take control of your health using the power of food, then I encourage you to check out my Eat to Beat Disease online course. More than 4,000 people from 80 countries have taken it, and now they know how to eat to beat disease. And you can too. I personally developed all the material in this course, drawing from my latest research and my years of experience. It's designed to give you practical, science-based strategies that you can use to boost your health every single day. To learn more, click the link below.
You're on point with your metaphors, let me tell you.
Don't be the gas station. All right.
Yes.
So the point is that when you grow extra body fat, that extra body fat slows your metabolism down. And that's the other thing that we get wrong. We used to say, oh, I got a slow metabolism, so I'm going to gain weight. Wrong. It's the other way around. We grow body fat, and that's what slows down our metabolism. Chicken or egg, in this case, it's the chicken first. Okay, body fat grows first. So the good news is that you can burn away your extra fuel tanks. And how do you do that? Well, you use fat to fight fat. What am I talking about? I'm talking about The bad fat you want to burn away, okay, is called white fat. And white fat it lives in two places. One is under the skin, right? So
Mhm.
listen, we've all been in the shower. You step out of the shower, you dry yourself off, you're naked. Out of the corner of your eye, you look in the mirror, you see a lump or a bump you didn't want to have there. I gotta work out. I gotta eat better. I gotta do something.
Mhm.
Next thing you do, you step on a scale. I'm saying like we've got this relationship
Yep.
with that. But what we can see in the mirror, the stuff under the arm, under the chin, the muffin top on our thighs and our butt, that fat is actually not the most dangerous kind of fat. That fat, actually, like we want to look better, feel better, fit into your clothes. Yeah, you want to get rid of that. But the real dangerous fat when it comes to your health is inside the tube of your body. All
Mhm.
right. Now, some of us have bigger body structures. I mean, think about like the Olympics, right? There's some of these shot putters. They're big. You know,
Mhm.
the runners, they're thin. What about the gymnasts? They're tiny. So
Mhm.
body size is very highly variable, and you can be super fit
Mhm.
regardless of what your body size. That's one of the things. One of the points I try to make. We tend to judge things on body size, but that's
Right.
not the point. The
Right.
point is you got a tube in your body. All right, they're like your whole chest. You're like you snip off your arms and legs. You're just like nothing but a tube with a
Mhm.
head on it. All right, so the
Mhm.
tube of your body, that's where your organs are. Can grow fat inside around your guts. Your guts are called viscera, and the kind of fat that grows inside the tube is called visceral fat.
Mhm.
Visceral fat is a dangerous kind of fat because when you got too much of it, too much fuel in your fuel tanks, that visceral fat becomes inflamed. And
Mm.
when it's inflamed inside the tube of your body, guess what? This is the fat that wraps around your organs like a baseball glove.
Mm.
All right. Now
Mhm.
you're wrapping your organs in inflammation. That's the dangerous stuff. So, what's the good stuff? What's the way to burn down harmful visceral gut fat?
Right.
All right. How do you do it? Well, it turns out we got another kind of fat that's a hero fat. It's called brown fat.
Mhm.
Brown fat is not like the other kind of fat that you don't want. It's not lumpy, bumpy. It's not under the skin, not under the arm. All right. Actually, brown fat is wafer thin, like a
Mm.
piece of paper.
Mhm.
And it is not even, and it's definitely not located close to the skin. It's located close to the bone. In fact, it's around the side of your neck, a little bit
Mm.
in your breastbone, a little
Mhm.
bit between our shoulder blades, and then a little bit deep in our belly. And this is the kind of fat that actually has one main purpose, and that is when you trigger it, and you can trigger it with cold temperatures. You could trigger it with chili peppers, spicy food. If you like
Mhm.
spicy food, you can trigger it with coffee,
Mhm.
tea, tomato juice, all kinds of things you can trigger brown fat by. Pears, apples will trigger brown fat. When you trigger that brown fat, by the way, what it does is it lights up like a space heater. That space heater is drawing power from the wall. All right. Your brown fat is drawing energy from your visceral fat. It is just
Ooh.
sucking that energy and burning it down. So another analogy I like to give for people that didn't need to have a space heater, like you went to school in Florida, you're not going to have a space
Right.
heater. All right. But I will tell you that another analogy I give you, if you have a gas stove, right, a gas range, and you want to heat up some soup or boil some water for tea, what do? You go up to the range and you turn up that knob, click, 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 whoosh. Now
Mhm.
you got that flame and you boil the water, right?
Mhm.
That's what happens with brown fat. When you activate it with foods like coffee or cold temperatures or green tea or matcha tea
Mhm.
or tomatoes, you're going click, 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 whoosh. You're turning on your brown fat. It is turning up heat. It's called thermogenesis, generating heat. All right. And where does it get that energy from? Well, in your kitchen, your stovetop is getting the fuel from the gas lines, maybe a tank by the side of your house, maybe the street. In your body, the brown fat, when it goes whoosh and
Mhm.
on thermogenesis, because you triggered it, it is drawing its energy from your visceral fat. It is
Mhm.
just burning down your visceral fat. All right. And so that's actually a good way you can eat foods to light up your brown fat, which is the good fat to burn down your bad fat, which is
Mhm.
called visceral fat. That's how it
Awesome.
works.
And so, everyone, if you get the book, which will be linked in the description box below, Eat to Beat Your Diet, he has literally a dictionary full of the foods that we can eat, right, to support the burning, the brown fat burning the white fat, right, and
Yeah.
and that and much more also. So if we, and I want to be mindful of your time too. So if we could close out with, well, first of all, is there anything else you wanted to share that you haven't talked about specific?
I want to just help somebody understand why brown fat is brown.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Brown fat lights up with heat, like with lots of little batteries, and those batteries are called mitochondria.
Yeah.
Okay, and you might have heard of mitochondria. People are talking about mitochondria. It's a buzzword now
Mm-hmm.
for longevity, but they're just a little batteries. You know, you got a battery in your watch, you got a battery in your, your keys or whatever. This is the batteries inside your cell. Now, the brown fat has a lot of these batteries because that's why it generates the heat. The mitochondria, which are little batteries, are packed with iron. Okay. Now, iron is like what nails are made out of, right? What happens when you actually take a pile of nails and stick them outside in your porch over a few days? You go out, those silver nails turn brown. They rust, they oxidize. And so what happens with mitochondria, they are loaded. The brown fat's loaded with mitochondria, little batteries. These mitochondria are loaded with iron. And part of the process of generating heat is oxidation. And so you oxidize the iron, and that's why brown fat is brown. It's like a pile of nails. All right. So I just wanted people to remember, like, what color is it? Like so I wanted, and why is it brown anyway?
Right.
I'm giving you the reasons so people can remember that.
Right. And it all is, again, food as medicine, right? And there's so many factors. It all kind of it all ties together. The inflammation, the metabolic, it's all connected to, when I say, the how we're fueling our bodies,
Yeah.
what we're eating, and it is enlightening to hear all of the information. It is also empowering. So it's not as though we are victims. Like, we have to be victims, even if we've made poor decisions in the past. There's a path forward, and there's information and resources and data that can support, right? So in closing, so for the person who is wondering, okay, what would be the top 5 things that I could add to my diet to support regeneration or stem cells? Or what would you say for someone, the different factors associated with hair loss? What would you say would be the top 5 things that they should really be tapping into?
Listen, I get asked this all the time. Tell me your top 1 thing or top 4.
Okay.
You're very generous. You're giving me real estate to talk about more than one thing.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, like, anybody who wants to learn more foods, I like, come to my YouTube channel, because I talk about foods all the time on my YouTube channel. Sign up so you can subscribe to it. But here's the thing. I'll just kind of quickly click through my 5 favorite foods. All right. One of them is actually, I'm going to cheat because I'm going to put 3 foods into it.
Okay.
One of them, and I call it the holy trinity of beverages. All right. It's water, tea, and coffee. Water actually helps you lose weight. Actually helps keep all the systems well hydrated, in good shape. If you're dried out, things aren't going to be working very well. It's like not watering your plants. Okay. You're not going to do well. You want your health defenses to work well. You want to make sure they're well watered. Tea, this is all part of the first one, lights up all your body's health defense systems. Blood vessels, stem cells, gut health, DNA protection, lowering inflammation. So does coffee. So I love to drink coffee in the morning. I'll drink tea at night. It actually is a perfect thing. I call it the Holy Trinity. That's one. All right. I'll tell you a second one that I love. I love tomatoes. We talked about we mentioned tomatoes a little bit. Tomatoes are amazing. They're a fruit. You can cook them in so many different ways. You pick a tomato off a vine. It's got good source of vitamin C. It's got lycopene. You want more lycopene? Cook that tomato down. Right? When you add heat to the tomato, it changes the chemistry of the lycopene. Now your body really wants to absorb it. You want to super absorb it? Add a little extra virgin olive oil when you're heating it. And now you got a tomato sauce. All right. And that'll actually get absorbed real quick. All right. So tomatoes I like. I like certain kinds of leafy greens. Look, let's admit it. Even though people who talk about health love broccoli, I don't hate broccoli, but I wouldn't say it's my number 1.
Okay.
They'll tell you that, I like mustard greens. I like collard greens. I like bok choy. A lot of these greens that our parents might have cooked for us when we were
Mhm.
stew them, you do all kinds of interesting things. You can put them in soups. Amazing. They're actually filled with bioactives, again, natural chemicals that light up all of our body's defense systems and burn down harmful extra visceral fat as well. As
Mhm.
extra virgin olive oil. I love olives, but the oil from olives is really healthy. It's a
Mhm.
healthy fat, better than butter, better than seed oils, better than vegetable oils. You should go for extra virgin olive oil. A little myth I'll tell you about. So it's got polyphenols, which is really good for you, and it's got a healthy fat. Okay, the healthy fat actually helps your metabolism, so you can
Mhm.
actually help to lose weight by having oil. How much? What's the dose? Well, you gotta, come to my YouTube channel to
Yep.
hear about all the doses, but it's about 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil you can have a day. That's been shown to actually benefit your health. If you pay attention, we all need to pay a little bit more close attention to how our body feels. We need to be better in touch with it.
Yes.
That's why we got to slow down.
Yes.
That's why we got to sort of like take a moment to be in touch with being.
Yes. Yes.
Listen to your body. It is telling you what you need.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.